Hi, Magnus. So we are really glad to have you here today. And my name is Jana, and I lead the Rise Europe network, and it's a pan-European network of entrepreneurship hubs. And our mission, we have like a joint mission, and it's like to bring the right ecosystem players together. So startups in Europe can really like start, grow, and scale across Europe. And one of the things which we do is really to identify these success stories that actually move the needle, and yours is one of them. And so what we did is we always pick like one topic where we want to like share best practices across Europe, and then we basically consolidate everything and bring it together into one playbook. And we launched recently our Rise Europe playbook with a focus on corporate and startup collaboration. And MycoMine was like one of the best practice in this playbook, how like startups collaborate with corporates. And then today we want to basically go beyond what's in the playbook and hear from you, like your story and your words, so that we can share it with the community, with the founders and the ecosystem to, basically spread the experience and spread the great journey you had. But before we dive into it, let's start maybe like with an introduction. So like, can you introduce yourself and tell us also a little bit about like MycoMine and like the technology behind it, and also like which problem are you solving with it?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for the invitation. Nice to be talking to you. So I'm Magnus, I'm the CEO and one of three co-founders of MycoMine. My personal background is in research, so I'm a trained geologist, and then I have been spending the past 25 years in research. But the past 5 years I've been at MycoMine, most of the time at least. So MycoMine is what we call a bioremediation company. So we develop and provide biological solutions for different kinds of pollution treatments. We work mainly with fungi, as the word myco suggests, and we basically work. I would say we mostly work with oil-based pollutions like fuels, crude oil, different kinds of industrial products, and so on. But we also work with the PFAS, the forever chemicals, and heavy metals to some extent. We have a biobank of more than 100 different fungi isolates, which are sort of specifically very specialized, I would say, to different kinds of pollution. So if we have a problem with diesel, for instance, then we have a couple of strains that are really good at taking care of diesel. We produce modular systems, so we are on site at our clients' polluted sites and take care of the pollution. So we reduce transportations of polluted materials and also costs involved, and of course the CO2 emissions involved in that. That's the brief introduction, I would say, to MycoMine.
Yeah, sounds really fascinating, especially like the many fungus you have. And you already mentioned that like you're working on the client side, and what is like quite unique for you that like you have like some use cases where you like already like worked with clients, you have like really great experience with clients, and finding especially like as a startup at the beginning, your first clients is something what like a lot of startup want, but a lot of startups struggle with it. And in your case, you had like also like strong support from the ecosystem, particularly like from Sting, which is one of like Sweden's leading entrepreneurship hubs. And can you like walk us through a bit like how this collaboration came about? What was the role of Sting? What was your experience working with them, and also like your experience finding your first clients?
Yeah, the first clients we had was actually contacts that I had already within from the research that I had been working on. So, for instance, the Swedish defense sector was contacts that I had from the beginning. And then after a while, we were contacted by Nynäs Refinery, for instance, which is a big, our biggest clients right now. So I think that it was really, I would say that first contacts were our own contacts that we reached out and sort of dragged into the MycoMine world. But after a while, the word was out there, and they reached out to us instead. So that was a receipt, I think, that we did something right, and people were interested in what we were doing, and so on. I think being part of the ecosystem here in Stockholm, which is really profound and really, it's a big ecosystem with Sting, of course, and other hubs. That has helped us a lot, and being part of Sting was definitely something that both gave us a lot of fantastic contacts, both when it comes to investors, but also to collaborators and previous clients. But it also gave some sort of weight to MycoMine as a company, as a startup. Sting is very restrictive with what companies they actually invest in and go and support. So being one of the Sting companies is a good sort of check that, they believe in us, and that is a good receipt that we have done something really good, I would say.
That's amazing. Like, do you still benefit from the connection to Sting? Like, are you still in the ecosystem as an alumni?
Yeah, we are an alumni, and definitely we have some sporadic contact. Sting is, of course, also shareholders in MycoMine, so we definitely have a contact. But we're still part of the sort of ecosystem, I would say, and are still attending events and so on. And I mean, whenever we need some contact or something, we can reach out to Sting, and they are very, very helpful. So we definitely we gain from having that in the back.
That's amazing. It's great to hear that the ecosystem actually really supported you and really fulfilled the mission which we all have to support startups to grow faster and also get the first clients. What was your experience working with large organizations? Like, for example, you worked with Scania, and often they operate in a different way than, for example, startups or smaller businesses. What was for example, for you, the biggest learning curve, and do you do something different from the first client you had to what you do right now?
I think that one of the lessons that we learned was that we was to listen to the clients. Usually, when you're a startup and you have a fantastic idea that you think will revolutionize the world, and then you get your first clients and realize that they have completely different needs than what you have ever expected. So it was a lesson that we had to start to listen to them and discuss with them to understand what their needs were. And then from there, we could sort of adapt our, what we provided to them. So that was a big lesson. I also think that it's a completely different world, as you say, and the time-wise, it's like from first contact to first contract, that can be very, very long. Can take years. For us, the first contracts, they took years before we got them, and it was a lot of meetings, calls, and we got no, one no after the other, and then suddenly yes, because then there was a boss that had been in a good mood and decided that now we go ahead with this. You rarely know what's behind these decisions, so you just have to sort of learn how to cope with these very, very long processes without going crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, patience is definitely something you need. But once you're in, then things go much faster. So it's like from contact to contract, that can be long. But once you're in the system, then it goes very, very quick. And that I think is the difference between big companies and municipalities, for instance, or more like governmental agencies, that there the time is also very long from contact to contract, but once you're in, the everything is like on year basis. So yeah, there you have to have even more patience, and also usually you have to apply for money and so on and so on. So I would say that working with companies, I mean, they have definitely larger budgets, and they can, if they want, take quicker decisions rather than governmental agencies.
I can imagine that. I have two questions, follow-up questions, which are burning on my mind. The first one, at the beginning, you were saying that like what you actually thought will be right, you had to adapt it to the actual client and what they want. I imagine that's quite also like an internal struggle with yourself from like, this is my idea as a founder, and this is what the clients want. And then also like not to adapt your idea too much to the client, because otherwise you will basically then be too reliant just like on one client. So how did you handle this like struggle of like adapting, but still basically keeping your idea or your root idea?
Mm. I mean, I would say that the original innovation or idea, that hasn't really changed much, because that is, I mean, the core of the business and core of MycoMine and what we sort of provide. It's more like how we package it, yeah, how we sort of commercialize it and communicate it with the client, and also, I mean, we had a product where we could clean oil from water and soil. Very, very sort of simple, pragmatic actually. But when you're working together with a big collaborator like Nynäs, for instance, you realize that there is so much other things that matters before you can actually use your inventory. It's everything about the site. Who is going to dig up the material that is polluted? Who is going to do this and that? So it's a lot of infrastructure issues and logistic issues, I would say, that sort of needs to be overcome before you can actually apply your innovation. So it's more like listen to their needs, listen to their sort of demands on the site and so on, that you have to adapt to. But the core business is always, it's always there, and it's not changed. So I think for me, I mean, I came from academia, so I had never really had a company before or working in a startup. For me, it was really like I had to learn how to be a salesman, how to adapt to the client's needs and so on. And I couldn't just be like, usually when you're in research, you have like tunnel vision and just you can see anything on the side. So you have to really broaden your vision and then be understandable for their needs, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And the second question is like, so you mentioned like knowing the right person is key to really get the contract. Adapting your idea to the client is also key so that they understand for their business what you are doing. Besides these two, are there others you like success criteria which helped you to really like get the contract with the clients?
Um, I would say that finding the right person in the organization, as you mentioned, that is definitely key, and that is something we have struggled with a lot. And sometimes you can't find that right person. Uh, but with these cases, we actually managed to find the right person in organizations quite quickly, and that was what I think closed the deals. But otherwise, I think, I mean, what we have done is that we have built up like reference cases that we can rely on and can show to our clients that, look, we actually do this. This is not just something we say, because usually when we have pitches and so on, people say, ah, this sounds too good to be true. Does this really work? But with some of the early cases, we were actually able to bring people out to the actual sites and show them. So we could use them as real reference cases, not just that we had someone that could tell potential clients that this actually worked, but we could bring them out to the polluted sites. We had a mine, for instance, early on that we could bring people out to, and that was like a perfect showcase. I mean, it's kind of exciting to go into a dark cave or a dark mine where you hear the water dripping, and it gives it's an experience. And I think we actually closed two deals, at least two deals, big deals, by bringing clients out to these sites. So that was definitely key to our success, I think.
Super, super insightful to really like show your idea in real life and like how you actually execute it and what it actually brings. So like the benefits of it is probably the most successful selling point when it comes to winning like real clients. So it actually works. It's super good. So beyond like the idea, beyond the pitch deck, to really like showcase your product or your solution. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely is. That's one of our problems now when we work a lot with the defense sector. We can't really bring people out to the sites because they are
No.
behind the bars. There are secrets. So now I realize how important that was actually for our early success.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. And beyond the obvious wins, like for example, like getting customer validation for your solution, getting like maybe access to infrastructure, have you experienced like some unexpected benefits that came out of these collaborations? Something like you didn't anticipate, like going into like a collaboration?
I mean, definitely, I would say that. um We've had some. What I was a bit surprised of is that when you get these clients and you get very good communication with them and a good relationship, they act as your ambassadors in a lot of ways. And they are very generous in networking and in that kind of operations. So we have gained a lot from their networking. They are very generous in contacting other companies, other organizations that we need. They are very helpful with communication with authorities, for instance, for different kinds of permits. So that was a bit surprising that they were so sort of helpful. Once you were in, you were part of the gang, sort of. And
Circle.
yeah, exactly. So, and they are very, very keen on that we gonna succeed. So it's not only that they have paid for the pilots and all that, but they have been very generous in giving us time to develop these systems and time to grow as a company. They understood that it was a startup and we were um, very few people working here and so on. So they really gave us room and time to grow as a company. They understood how important that was. So that was also a bit surprising that they have sort of really given us the opportunity to develop not only the innovation and the product, but also as a company.
Super great to hear that they're like supportive and like opening their doors and their like inner circle to also like support and like see you grow. Super good. And
Yeah.
then maybe a last question to wrap it up. So we have a lot of startups in the Rose Europe community who are like trying to get like these first corporate partnerships off the ground. What would like be an advice for these like founders and like honest like be honest like an honest advice of like how can they start and like how can they actually like basically like follow your footsteps and also like create great collaboration with corporates.
I would say that once you're in, which is sort of course, part of a problem, but once you're in, listen to the clients, which was what we were talking about before. Listen and talk to them, get to know them, because once you gain their trust and respect, they are on your side. So, and you can learn extremely much from just talking to them. You will understand how the actual, what the need of the industry is. You may have an idea of what it is, but it's probably completely different. So listen and talk to them. That I would say is my take home message.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Instead of like selling straight away your solution, it's just like also like take time to listen and
Mm.
adapt. Super powerful. Yes, it's good advice. Which
Yeah,
probably a lot of like founders also like forget quickly when it comes to really like getting your clients moving fast, keeping that pace, which you usually have like in this startup ecosystem, to also listen to the other side and adapt your own idea and your own solution on which you're working on. Like, love that. It's
yeah,
powerful.
yeah. I think also another thing that just struck me is that we have always sort of done everything stepwise. So we have never said that, okay, we're gonna fix this massive problem that you have, but instead we have taken it stepwise by different kinds of minor pilot studies, and then it's been growing and growing and growing for each step. And by doing that, they don't need to invest a lot in the beginning, but they don't have to risk so much in the beginning also. And by this sort of stepwise scale up, you get to trust each other and get to know each other, and they see for each step that we are managed to scale it a bit further or every time. So I think that could be a good strategy for startups, that just start slowly, start in a small scale, and then slowly scale it up together with the client.
A super good end and a good like insight and I think like it will resonate with a lot of like founders in our network. So thank you so much for sharing your experience, for sharing your journey. It was like genuinely fascinating and inspiring to hear like basically the story behind what you're doing and the story like how you've actually really found your first clients and how you work with them. So thank you a lot, and we're really glad not only to have you in our playbook, but also like to like super happy to have you heard like you were in your own words. So it really gave a bit like flesh to the bones, which was great. And yeah, for everyone who was watching and listening, if you want to go deeper into what you do as MycoMine, like you can also like check you out and also like see in our playbook like the corporate startup collaboration, which is already live. Basically how you started and how you worked with the corporates. So Magnus, thank you a lot for taking the time. And
Thank you.